Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. Dylan here. We have a major bombshell today about Judge Juan Merchan that you do not want to miss, and Donald J. Trump. What just went down, the Supreme Court just declined to stop Donald Trump's sentencing by this liberal Trump-hating judge. Remember, this is the judge that donated to Democratic Party candidate Joe Biden's campaign in 2020. And this judge also donated to the Progressive Turnout Project and to the Stop Republicans campaign, which is a subsidiary of the Progressive Turnout Project, which its goal is to stop the radical Republican Party and to resist Donald Trump's right-wing legacy. Yeah, this judge donated to that. And allegedly, this judge's daughter also benefited, and their organization got tens of millions of dollars based off of this judge's ruling. So this judge, a lot of people are saying, is very, very biased, is the worst of them all, even worse than the creepo Judge Engoron, who creeps on girls in the gym, and that judge who said he can't keep his own emotions out of the ruling. Judge Arthur Engoron is bad, but Judge Juan Merchan is even worse, okay? So we have a major bombshell to get into with this, but before we dive in, we're gonna pray, because God comes first, amen? Comment amen down below if you believe that. Today's Bible reading is Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Amen. My brothers and sisters, God has a plan. Let us remember that. At the end of the day, Donald John Trump beat Kamala Harris in a historic landslide victory, defeating her not only nationally, but in all 7 swing states. All 7 battleground states, Donald Trump destroyed. Kamala Hyena Harris, Lion Kamala Harris, and Donald Trump is victorious, okay? And in less than 2 weeks, Donald Trump will be back in the White House with Melania Trump, Barron Trump. It will be a sight to see. But for now, let's tune into this update with the Supreme Court, Donald Trump, and Judge Juan Merchan.
This is a Fox News alert. Moments ago, the Supreme Court denied Trump's application to halt the sentencing in that New York hush money case.
Crazy. Which
now will happen, the sentencing tomorrow.
Crazy.
For reaction to this, Jonathan Turley, George Washington University law prof, and Charlie Hurt, Washington Times opinion editor, both Fox News contributors. Professor Turley, let's start with you. Look, the court doesn't like to intervene in what may be considered political matters. Your take on this, then I'll tell you what I think the court should have done.
Well, this is what some of us predicted when the appeals just began. Merchan really played this perfectly, and I say that not as a compliment. That he knew that he was giving President-elect Trump very little runway by which to take an appeal off. He also knew that appellate courts generally prefer for sentences to be finalized, to review the case as a whole. And he played those 2 cards to guarantee that he'll be able to sentence President Trump tomorrow. And when that occurs, in many ways, he's going to create the ultimate mandate for President Trump. He will have established with finality the effect of lawfare on our political system. So President Trump will go in, as many on the left want him to go in, as a convicted felon. But for many people in this country, he will also go in as someone who was the victim of lawfare.
True. That's a really good point. A lot of people argue that this is one of the reasons why Trump actually won, is because all odds were against him. They went after him from every angle, and people saw that Trump had tenacity to persevere through that. So it's kind of ironic that they're still doing this, that they never learned from their mistakes. They should have stopped doing this and actually just, played a fair game with Trump. But instead they used this lawfare against him, and it actually works in Trump's favor.
This was the most outrageous of the cases. It was built on not a novel, but an unprecedented theory, one that even the Democratic senator from New Jersey recently called BS. I mean, said that it was completely invalid.
Wow.
And that's the mandate that he will give this president going into office.
Damn.
Professor, we'll get to Charlie in just a second. When you look at this, though, one of the justifications for not granting the application for this stay was that it wasn't a real inconvenience to the presidency, because the judge had indicated there's not going to be a jail time. It'll be there, but it won't be really inhibiting his work as president. But 4 justices disagreed with that, and the only one who didn't, who was one of the Republican nominees, is Amy Coney Barrett. Of course, John Roberts, the other one, but Amy Coney Barrett voted with the majority. So there were a core 4 who believed that this was significant enough to say, not pulling this nonsense.
That's right, and the division on that court really does reflect how troubling the case is overall. That this trial level judge has done in Manhattan is to hold a presidential candidate first, now a president-elect, to his courtroom on a short leash. This is the same judge that gagged the leading candidate for president in a campaign where his case was one of the issues of most concern with voters. And it obviously is an equal concern among at least 4 justices.
Yeah, Charlie, look, on this case, I think it's such a travesty. It's one of those extraordinary cases where, allowing the process to go forward in normal course to the appellate. We have serious problems facing this country. President Trump doesn't need one more thing to deal with. That's my view. And I think those justices saw this for what it was in the dissent. And unfortunately, there are 5 who, disagreed. But, look, I guess it was a close call, according to Professor Turley.
Yeah, it's actually crazy. I mean, I'm surprised that the Supreme Court didn't block this. I mean, it's just utter idiocy, and the Supreme Court should have just totally shut this down. I'm surprised they didn't.
It's an important point, and certainly the point that I think every American, whether you voted for Donald Trump or not, if you're part of that 59-60% of Americans who are express to pollsters that they're hopeful that we can sort of move in a positive direction, they're like, wait a minute, we got all these problems. This is not anywhere in the list of problems that I have. And of course, in this particular case, as Professor Turley just pointed out, the real damage here was letting the case go forward in the first place.
Yeah.
The real damage occurred here. And the gagging of somebody who's actually running for president, it runs counter to everything that we believe in terms of free speech and running robust campaigns in this country. And of course, Donald Trump won, and he beat all of it. And this is just a reminder, I think, for a lot of people of what the left and what these crazy prosecutors did and tried to do to try to thwart the will of the American people. And the American people looked at it and said, yeah, we don't care. We're not going to be confused about this. We're going to stick with the issues that we care about. And the issues in this case are not one of them.
Oh, yeah, Bragg today, Alvin Bragg was out today crowing about the case, saying how important it is for the country, Professor Turley.
Oh, my God. Alvin Bragg's a effing idiot. I'm sorry. Excuse my French. Holy crap. Screw that guy.
I would also argue that Judge Merchan, by issuing this, quote, unconditional discharge in this case, also kind of implicitly, in my view, admits this is ridiculous. I mean, I'm sorry, but unconditional discharge, but he's a felon.
Yeah, it's just, so liberals can cry for 4 years about, we have a president who's a convict. What country? I hate America. Our president's a convict. It's like, it's just political theater at this point.
To me, again, this is preposterous.
Yeah.
And I think the court should have done away with this. I think the court got this one wrong. And I don't say it just because I support President Trump. I do support the presidency, though.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by Chief Justice Roberts. He often experiences a bit of sticker shock when it comes to institutional issues. He doesn't want to get the court ahead of the politics of the moment. This is fairly consistent, I would say, with his past rulings. And I say that, because I truly believe that what motivates him is the court as an institution. And he doesn't want to see the court at these critical moments making this decision. But the problem with what's happening in Manhattan is that this is the rawest form of lawfare. And of course, Bragg is its happiest warrior. But at the end of the day, you have a case that was a dead misdemeanor that was zapped back into life with this novel theory, then turned into this mountain of felonies, and then went before a judge that, in my view, discarded any sense of due process. We still do not know what the jury decided as to the underlying conduct in the case. I mean, I was in that courtroom.
So was I.
I was in disbelief as to how the court was ruling.
This was a raw abuse of judicial and prosecutorial power in the United States. That's what it was. But apparently we have 5 justices on the Supreme Court who think this just has to go through its normal course. Are we surprised, Jonathan, by Amy Coney Barrett?
God, Amy Coney Barrett. I mean, it's just strange because the Supreme Court is conservative. You would think that they would side with Trump on this one, guys.
In this or not?
No, Justice Barrett has been playing more and more of a central role or centrist role on the court.
It's not center, it's left. They're playing, the way they sided on this is so left, it's not even center. Like, Trump won in a landslide. He's not going to get any punishment. So why are you going to go ahead and call him a freaking convicted felon?
Is often voting with the left of the court. She's sort of carving out her own voice, her own place. And I don't want to condemn her for it. I can disagree with her decisions. She's a very thoughtful jurist. And what she did here is consistent with what a lot of appellate judges do. They really prefer overwhelmingly to have these cases, completed, to have the sentence in so they can review the whole case. They hate interlocutory appeals. They hate these things coming up in partial form. And so she's consistent in that regard.
Well, anytime you say interlocutory appeal on the anger mangle, it's time to take a pause. Panel, thank you.
Gosh, so yeah, guys, that's the update. So Trump, as of now, he will be sentenced tomorrow. So we will see what happens there. I will keep you up to date. Make sure you subscribe because I will be making updates on this. And also make sure to check out my website, link down below, thepatrioticjournal.com. You can click the link below and you can get a free trial to join my site. And it helps support the show. Otherwise, guys, thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.